Hey, good morning. Yes, it is. It's April 3rd, and it's a Wednesday. So I thought today we'd talk a little bit about trying to get good work into the shop and why a lot of stuff is getting turned away by not only our shop but other shops. And something I'm seeing more of on YouTube is repair shops that are going into the boneyard of machines that they told the customer were non-fixable and getting them fixed and then reselling them to the public. Why that could be an issue. So stay tuned. Alright, so welcome back to the channel. My name is Eric, if you didn't already know that. And we do the weekday. This is Monday through Friday. Today's Wednesday. Some over the weekends. And then we actually fix stuff and put those repair videos up as well. One of the main things I've always tried doing is keeping what I call this channel, keeping it real. What you see is what you get. There's no fluff. It is what it is, right? And that draws a certain amount of people, but it also, I know that it probably turns off even more, right? Because people like to be fluffed instead of being told honestly what the deal is. And being called out sometimes. But today's video is about why are shops turning away a lot of work? And when I say a lot of work, a lot of your older equipment, your blowers, your chainsaws, your trimmers, unless they're a name brand or something that have value, most often the case, depending upon what you charge as a repair shop for your hourly rate, makes it cost prohibitive. And for the shops that are really busy, even more so, they don't even want to diagnose it. And what we tend to do is with the older stuff, if it's anything internal, even with some of the newer stuff, but mostly the older stuff, to fix anything on it, you're looking at, for most shops, an hour labor, right? Here at my shop, we charge a diagnostic fee of $40. That's to look at it. And if all it needed was a plug, that's included in the $40 plus the cost of the plug. If we can knock that out in less than an hour, half an hour, then we will. But if we start looking at a lot of stuff, you physically have to tear it apart, especially like I call them the briefcase generators. Honda made a lot of them. Now they're making them right up to 6,500 watt. But just do a simple fix on a rewind or a carburetor, or you got to tear that sucker all apart. And that takes time. And that's why a lot of shops with the older stuff, that they know that they're looking at an hour or two just to tear it down, to get to the problem, is going to be more than what their customer is willing to pay. You have to be the hatchet man and know when something comes through the door, is it worth fixing or not? You have to be fair with your customer. All right, and I always say you have to be honest with that customer, and that's the best way to approach it. Is just say, look, what did you pay for that brand new? Let's take a weed trimmer, an old MTD. What did you pay for that new? And a lot of times they're going to say between 50 and 70 bucks. And my comeback is if it takes an hour to fix that, you're looking at 55 bucks plus parts. Now we're getting close to what you pay for it brand new. Now, you also have to take into consideration what does it cost to replace it. See, a lot of people don't look at that. What does it cost to replace that versus putting in a little bit of time and money into it? And as a shop, you need to be able to do quick diagnostics in your head of what it could be, and you've probably seen it before, and what the end result is going to be in your time, your labor, and your parts. And that's something as a repair shop that you have to do on a daily basis. Because in the end, what you want is you want good quality, happy customers. You're not going to please everybody all the time. But the goal in the end is to have some really good quality outgoing customers. And you want customers that appreciate the fact that you're being honest with them and saying, it's not worth fixing it, Joe. It really is not. I mean, if you want me to fix it, I will fix it. But I'm telling you right now, good chances are this is what we're going to run into. Now, if you want me to do a diagnostic on it and give you a better idea of what it's going to cost to fix it for 40 bucks, all right. I leave that up to the customer to make that call. You don't need to be belligerent about it because you're tired of seeing this crap walking in, right? You simply have to just let the customer decide what they're willing to spend. And if they aren't sure of what it costs to buy brand new, point that out. Because most of us know what it costs to buy a brand new unit for a Husqvarna, any of the MTD products, Cup Cadets. We all know roughly what stuff is going for. And that's all part of running a shop, is also having the knowledge. Because if you don't know what stuff is running at the current time, you've got a computer most of the time sitting in front of you. You can check prices. And you can have, answers for that customer when they come back. Okay, this is what it's going to cost to replace it. And this is what it's going to cost to fix your unit. But it's still going to be an older unit. It's not going to be new, it's going to be older but fixed. And no guarantees of how many years it will last you. We're hoping it lasts you the summer. That's all we can do. We're not brain surgeons. We're repair guys. And we do the best of our ability. But once that machine leaves your shop, you have no control over how the customer uses it. Do they check the oil on a regular basis? Are they adding oil when it needs it? Are they doing the upkeep of keeping the decks blowed out and washing the bottom decks out to have the washer unit where you can put the hose right on it? Do it after every time you use it. If they start seeing something, leaking oil, a valve cover, this or that, do they get it back to you to get taken care of? Or do they continue running it? See, there's all those things, variables that are out of your control once it leaves the shop. So that's why I say we just hope that that customer is going to have a carefree summer and our work is going to hold up of what we did. Now, the other part you have to look at too when you're looking at the older machines and repairing them is, are even the parts available anymore? Because a lot of the manufacturers are nixing the old parts. And more in my generation have we seen what I call disposable or throwaway machines. And that's just cheap knockoffs made in China. Run it till it breaks. Go get a new one. So a lot of these manufacturers are not stocking parts for anything over 10 years. And sometimes they're even 5 years out and they're discontinuing having the parts readily available. And a lot of your manufacturers, even on the newer stuff, the parts aren't available. And I'll tell you, here's part of the problem when it comes to parts that are readily available and running into back orders. It's not that there's not, that the manufacturer can't have more produced. It's the manufacturers, and the aftermarket companies got stuck with a buttload of parts that they couldn't sell. And it's not that people didn't want those parts. It's that China priced the aftermarket and the OEM companies out of the market. I mean, how can you justify selling a guy a $79.95 Homelight chainsaw carburetor when today you can buy it for $9.95, free shipping, comes with gaskets, both sides, fuel line, fuel filter. I couldn't even supply the fuel line and the fuel filter if I went OEM for that unit. So what they ended up happening was they got stuck with a lot of parts that they had to go through and either throw away or give it away or stop producing it. Most of them stopped producing it and are just trying to thin what they have on their shelves. Stuff isn't flying off their shelves as fast as it used to be. And I know that because stuff isn't selling for me like it used to be on the venues. Because I can't compete. They can't compete. And if you've watched any of my videos, you gotta be careful. A lot of these Chinese sellers will say the U.S. sellers so you can get it quicker, which isn't always the case. And they will say this one carburetor will fit a gazillion different things. And you really have to be on your toes and know what you need. Because they're banking on you not shipping it back and just eating it, right? 9 times out of 10, a customer gets a carburetor and it doesn't change the effects of the chainsaw. They just chalk it up to the chainsaw and not the carburetor. China got their money. Customer quits working on his chainsaw. Easy peasy money for China. You're not seeing the quality there. So you just gotta be careful when you're buying used parts or new parts at bargain basement prices. But that's also critical in that thought process on the older stuff is, can I even get the parts that I need to fix that trimmer? Because a lot of the trimmers, the rewinds, the older style, you had to buy that whole front unit where the rewind and everything is included, you know. And for those, I mean, we sold a lot of home light rewinds that were part of the case over the years. But not so much now because a lot of the manufacturers are not carrying them anymore. So just to get parts could be the demise of having to tell the customer it's not only not worth fixing, I can't fix it because I can't get the parts. And most customers want it back in fairly short order, right? All right, so that takes us into our next segment, and that is, it happens to us all the time. And I know it's happening in other shops, is customer brings the unit in. Let's say it's a riding lawnmower. And for whatever reason, with it being older, you do a quick diagnostic on it and decide that here's how much it's going to cost to fix it plus my labor in parts and labor. And you present it to the customer. And the customer says, well, I really don't want to put that kind of money into it. All right. And 9 times out of 10, the customer will say, do you want it? I've had customers call and tell me they have a couple other things that they hate to throw it away, but if I wanted it, either come get it or they would drop it off and we could put it in our boneyard. Because we do try to help our customers when it comes to the parts. Sometimes if we can steal a part off from something that is considered non-fixable and save that customer money, and examples are you have a tire and a rim, front tire and rim or rear tire, and the tire is all weather checked. And the idea of putting a tube into one that's all weather checked a lot of times won't work because you have sharp pieces cracking through that will puncture that tube, right? But now, if you have one sitting up in the boneyard that looks fairly new, a nice rear tire, same tread design and the same size, and you can swap tire and rim for tire and rim and charge the customer $30. You're making money on your parts, your used parts up in the boneyard. But now what I'm seeing on YouTube is some of these shops taking customers' machines that were deemed non-fixable and bringing them into the shop. And I know what you're doing. You're looking to make a YouTube video out of it. End of story. I know it. But if you're talking and you're making the video on trash to treasure of taking machines like that, and it may have taken 3 other mowers to help get the one complete, right? To have it fixable. And you're not counting your time. At least most of you aren't. And here's the clincher. You put it for sale to the general public. How long do you think it is before customers start thinking that you're scamming them? How long? Because I can tell you bad news travels faster than good. At the very least, if I've got a customer machine that they gave me because I told them it was non-fixable and we were able to fix it, maybe we did a complete motor swap. The motor was cooked and we had a donor. We could take a motor off and put it on that, put the clutch back on it and make it a decent mower. The very least is you call that customer. I'm telling you right now. And you tell that customer, look, I'm going through my boneyard, and this is what I've been thinking about doing, is to make a few extra bucks for the shop, and that is taking your old lawnmower, and we have an engine that's sitting here, that's on a machine that the rest of it's not worth squat. All right. Now, what we're talking about right now is taking that engine, putting it on your old machine, and getting the thing all buttoned up and getting it running again. Now, at that point, you ask the customer of that unit, this is what we're going to have into it and what we're going to try to sell it for. Always offer it to that customer less than what you're going to offer to the general public. It still puts money in your pocket. It still gives you a YouTube video. But that customer doesn't feel duped. And that customer isn't going to be out there telling everybody of how, you're the type of shop that says it's not any good, but then backdoors it, makes big money on it, and I wouldn't take anything else to them. You start to develop a reputation that you don't want. All for what? A couple machines? So if you're going to do that, at the very least, get a hold of that customer and let them know what your idea is on. And a lot of shops will do that during the winter months when things slow down. They start looking at other ways to create income. But I'm saying that's fine as long as you keep that customer in the loop and offer it to them for a better price than you would to the public, because that was their chassis, deck, and everything else to start with that they gave you. And some will say, well, you should charge them what you're going to charge the public. No, because the deck didn't cost, or the body and the deck didn't cost me anything because that customer gave it to me. And this is where it comes to a lot of repair shops, is they look at the unit was given to them, so they have zero in it, right? So if they do an engine swap, it might take an hour if you're just swapping with another one that was given to you. So now you got a free chassis with a free deck, and now you got a free engine. So all you're really looking at is your parts. If you have to put on new plugs, filter, all that, and your labor. But if you keep that company, that customer involved in the loop, right from the get-go, before you turn a wrench on it, ask them if that would be something they would be interested in buying if you did that to it. If they say no, hey, that's great. You have given that customer a chance, first chance, at a lower price than everybody else. And that customer will respect you. If you don't say anything to that customer and they see that mower on a YouTube video, or they see that mower on Facebook Marketplace, and they know it's theirs because there's markings on it that they may have done to it, what are you going to do then if they weren't kept in the loop? They're going to feel scammed. And for most people, that's a general response. And they will tell their friends, and they will tell anybody that's willing to listen of how you talk them out of putting a little bit of money into that machine to get it running. And here you have it running and you're selling it and making money off them. So it's just something to keep in mind. All right, so I'm kind of winding this up, getting kind of long, but the main theme is with the throwaways, let your customer decide. Tell them about what it's going to cost to fix it. And most often they say they don't want to have it fixed. It's not worth it. And then the other thing is trying to get parts. Can you still even get parts for it? That becomes a challenge. It used to be if it was older than 10. And now it's getting to be older than 5. And then even the new stuff that's out today, trying to get a replacement part from an OEM company It's just simply on back order. And that's due in part to them getting stuck with all those parts when China flooded the market here in the US. So they're trying to stay as lean as possible and only have just what they need on the shelf that they think they can sell. So they're not inventoried to the hilt for the summer season right now. They're carrying the bare minimums. And they're ordering it as you need it, right? So it takes a while. And then the other thing is, customer machines that have been given to you. The quickest way to ruin your reputation is to go into your boneyard, fix up a bunch of mowers, and then peddle them without keeping at least that customer in the loop that gave that to you. More so on riders, as I explained, when you're doing an engine swap. Take the customer that gave you the chassis and keep them in the loop. Not so much with the engine, because that customer said, keep it. Maybe you can use it for parts, because the rest of his machine was just junked. And we've taken machines that ran good, but the decks were squat, and stole decks off from other machines and put it on it. And in that instance, you let that customer know this is what you're up to, and this is what the cost would be. And now you're making money on the deck that you're putting onto that guy's lawnmower, right? And the labor to do it. And he may be thrilled with it. But either way, same general theme. Leave it in the customer's lap to decide the outcome. If you don't, you will become a shop known as sleazy and scamming. I guarantee it. All we have is our reputation. On that note, you guys have a great Wednesday. And we'll be here bright and early tomorrow morning, right? I'm going to try to get a chainsaw video up today. All right.